Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aidan,
I'm Jack.
And I'm Casey.
and we are back once again to talk about just everything that's happened in the world of cannons and New England lacrosse. Obviously, a little bit more going on in the college game than the pro. And let's start there, Casey. You and I went down to the beautiful Smithfield, Rhode Island yesterday to see um, Zach Goodrich coach the Bryant Bulldogs to a 12-7 win over UMBC, who also have Craig Chick on their coaching staff. So I said the result, but how'd you enjoy the experience? I think you said this is the first time you've been to Rhode Island since moving to Boston.
Yeah. Well, first time going to Rhode Island and it was freezing.
It's
Um,
so
s-
cold.
at one point I stood up and I think my quad started cramping just because I was sitting for too long in such cold weather. But um, no, it was cool though to be there to see more college lacrosse in person to support some of our Cannons players too. It was cool that a Cannons player was coaching on each end.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was a good experience. I would have loved to have been able to
Wait, who
meet.
coaches for
Um,
UMBC?
Craig Chick.
Jenner? Oh, Craig Chick. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
would have been
Wow.
cool to
We
meet
didn't
them,
either. Zach
but
told us.
yeah.
Yeah. We're a very professional outfit here on the Battery Podcast.
Uh,
Yeah.
I'm focused
So yeah,
on their jobs that they
Yeah.
do
The summer
on
job.
the weekends in the summer.
Yeah.
I'm not as well versed in their full-time
No,
jobs.
nor am I. Yeah, I would say I know I watched Bryant play Vermont last weekend and they got kind of pushed around. I forget what the final score was, but Vermont was kind of dominant all the way through. So I was a little worried going into yesterday, but I would say they flipped it. UMBC did score the first goal of the game, but after that, once Bryant tied it up on a half field 10-man uh, goal, which is awesome. I think the Bryant player pulled up from his own side of midfield, which is always fun to see. But then since then, they built like I think it was a 4-1 lead. And then it was kind of back and forth. Like that goal margin was always like between 2 and 4, and then they got the one kind of empty netter at the end. So it was exciting, to see them. I would say the better team on both sides of the ball was like Bryant was always taking UMBC deep in the shot clock. Um, UMBC had a lot more shots, but most of them were not even like close to the cage. Um, yeah, I forget what the exact margin was, but I would say it was probably double or maybe even more than double at some points. But it was just like low angle shots, shots from far out. So exciting to see them. I believe they're now 2-1 in conference, and 5-4 overall. So they got a shot at the America East, at least making the tournament. Would be don't want Goodrich to have to go too deep into that. Don't want if he's got a coach on Memorial Day weekend. Not sure he'd be ready for week one. But yeah, we'll support Brian as far as they get. Certainly as long as they have Goodrich on the coaching staff. Um, And no more Mike Pressler. He was the coach up until 2022, but that would have been a fun dynamic to have the Atlas head coach that we definitely are not rooting for, and then uh, Cannon's assistant coach, you definitely are. Um, yeah, I don't know, Jack. Did you want to touch on any other college games from the weekend? I know our
UMass had a good win over St. Joseph.
yep,
They lost to Brown last week, which was tough and forced them out of the top 20, but beat number 15 St. Joe's, I think should on the road too,
yeah,
should
that's a
have
huge win.
UMass back in the top 20, so that's good.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Let's see. Let me pull up the scores here as well. Michigan or not? Yeah,
Michigan,
Michigan.
yeah, Michigan. I don't know what's going on, but they're just so good in the Big Ten, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's where you need to be good in college sports for sure.
True.
Let's see. But BU kind of stomped Holy Cross, which doesn't
Yeah.
surprise anyone. Let's see.
Notre Dame manhandled Duke.
Yeah, this is exciting. It's we're really not sure. Like there's certainly a handful of teams that we think are going to be, I'd say Maryland does kind of look like the best team, although obviously they just lost to Michigan. Um, but the like I would not be surprised if any of like six or seven teams actually wind up winning this title, which is fantastic. Um,
Yeah, that's what you want.
yeah, as cool as it was to see the buzzsaw that Notre Dame was the last 2 years, and then Maryland being like one of the best teams of all time the year before that, and Virginia being like the clear favorite for the couple years before that, including the COVID year. Like it's really fun to have a handful of teams up at the top and also a pretty good like mid field below that.
Well,
Um,
and also to just because you brought it up, Virginia is just not good this year.
yeah, yeah, that's true. I think we for sure would have expected them to be a top five team, and they are not. They're not
Yeah,
even a top 20
that's
team.
wild.
Yeah. Um, we got yeah, and Ohio State we didn't talk about. Like I know they made a Final Four like maybe 8 or so years ago. And they've had some great players, Kevin Buchanan, Cannon's legend, Anthony Kelly, new head coach of the Redwoods.
True.
Um, Trey LeClaire, like there have been pros that have come out of Ohio State for a while now. Jake Withers too, but to have the team collectively be this good, I mean, they would be the number one team if they hadn't lost to Utah week one.
Yeah. And shout out to, I forget his name, but they have a transfer who played at UMass last year. And then he said, I'm going to go to Ohio State. And he balled out for UMass last year. Kind of wish he was still at UMass because
Yeah,
UMass is, well, first off, because he's good, but UMass is just a massive defensive team. The offense isn't phenomenal and could really use the scoring. I can't for the life of me remember his name. I feel like I should know this, so I'm just going to quickly
yeah,
look at their roster, but shout out to him because I think he's having a good year for Ohio State, helping them
yeah.
out. So like that's cool.
And they've been, yes, they beat Rutgers, which I don't think is a huge surprise to
Shane
anyone.
O'Leary, sorry.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, yeah. I take it back. So he actually played 4 years at UMass and is taking a grad year at
Okay,
Ohio
that makes
State.
sense.
He's also from Massachusetts, Byfield, went to Govs.
Oh,
So
that's so close to where I grew up as well.
he's a true local boy
Yeah, I
until
love
now.
seeing a Merrimack Valley kid make it to the upper echelons of college lacrosse. That's fantastic. I
Yeah.
think I was thinking of like what states could you make a great PLL roster out of? I feel like you'd have to go all of New England. I don't think you could just do Massachusetts yet. I know Connecticut has a lot. Um,
Mm.
would love to. I mean, Massachusetts has some great players. You got Will Bowen and Jared Newman, obviously trainer, and then you got Garnsey and Tucci from New Hampshire. Um, but I can't. I'm sure there are more. I would love to. That would be a good off-season thing. Maybe like when we're in the real depths of the off-season before college starts to try to make a state by state PLO roster.
That
But
would be.
yeah, it's good year for college lacrosse. I'd say it's also been a great year for Massachusetts lacrosse, like we said last week, with Harvard being very highly ranked, BU having a good year. They always seem to pull some stuff out, like beating Army like pretty regularly, and I guess that's the biggest one. But they've had a fantastic season being ranked for much of the year, and UMass as well should get back into the top 20, like you said. Um, all right, let's maybe switch to the pro game and talk about the trades and the signings that have gone on for the Cannons recently. Um, yeah, so we didn't mention Aslanian and Parlett who were traded pretty soon after Champ Series, which is kind of surprising. Um, but that to give up two play, I know granted Parlett didn't play, but to give up two players for a third round pick does seem like a little bit lopsided.
Yeah, no,
Aggressive.
when I saw that I think the news first broke that it was Parlett was being
Yeah,
traded. And I was like, okay, phenomenal. Like
for sure,
undrafted free agent and you got a draft pick for him. That's buy low, sell high. That's perfect.
for sure.
Then you add in Aslanian. And I'm like, okay, I like Veslanian, and you know, it obviously the lefty attack experience didn't work out with him,
No.
but he's still a really good midfielder. And yeah, to get a third round pick is all you got for that. Even I think a third rounder for just Aslanian,
Yeah.
I could see, but yeah, two players for a third.
Yeah. That's I mean, hopefully that third turns into, I don't think it's going to be TJ Malone, but hopefully it's a contributing player who comes out of that pick. Or, I'm not going to root for either of those guys to not have productive time with the chaos, except for the game that they play, Boston, obviously. Um, but yeah, that's a trade that we might look at the end of the year and say like, that we didn't come out
It's
on
a bit
top
of
of
a
it.
head scratcher.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of, oh, I wouldn't necessarily call this a head scratcher, but huge other trade that happened
No,
this
I think it's a head scratcher.
Okay. Yeah, so Owen Grant comes to Boston in exchange for the third overall pick
Yep.
and uh
Fourth.
shoot, the fourth rounder in, is it both in this year's draft?
No, I think the fourth is next year.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's the third overall this year, which originally was Denver's that we got in the Pat Kavanaugh trade,
Yep,
and
fourth round of
then
2026.
fourth round in 2026
Yep.
for Owen Grant, a guy who has played 3 games in 2 years
Yeah.
because of injury,
Yeah.
and is another hole, which
Yep.
we have a
Yeah.
lot of.
Um it is nice though if Owen Grant fails to report to the Cannons, Boston does get um, a comp pick. They get the Redwoods' earliest pick that's not in the top six. Um,
Next year.
yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we hope Owen Grant comes to camp and plays all 10 games and is like an all-star and LSM of the year, defender of the year, whatever. But at least I think definitely this was a byproduct of Chris Gray's retirement that that comp was thrown in there. Obviously, wish it could be top six because I think, you know, seems like the Redwoods are going to, well, based on how they were last year, the Redwoods seemed likely to be in the top six of the draft. But honestly, this
Right.
team's going to be so different next year.
But yeah, I mean, although the PLL draft, I don't confess to know what 2026's class looks like. I highly doubt that it's going to be like 2024's, but
No.
it's not like, in another draft, in another league where you have 30 teams, oh, it's outside the top six, and then that means you're picking the second round, you're picking 30, 40 something. Like, it falls outside the top six. Worst case scenario, if the Redwoods are sixth, then their pick is
14.
14.
Yeah,
That
which is
like
you
that's
absolutely
not
can still find a great player. Yeah, I would love to look at
yeah,
the 14th overall pick in most drafts, but I think that's a guy who plays meaningful minutes. Um,
it probably is. I
yeah,
mean,
but
that's
just to go back to the trade, the compensation, I think we all were kind of thinking, well, one, the Cannons have enough polls.
pause. Last year's 14th pick was Vidaro.
Oh, hilarious. Oh, so yes, a guy who had productive, meaningful time with his team.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Uh, was familiar with your game, did not remember exactly where you got drafted, but I did know it was the second round. Um, great.
Anyways,
Yeah, so the yeah, I think we were very excited about having 3 and 4 in the draft. Now the Redwoods have 2 and 3. Um, you gotta think the Cannons are taking probably Coulter McAsee with that pick at 4.
assuming he's there.
Right. Um, because I mean, CJ Kirst is going 1-1. We know that. Two to the Redwoods is, I
I
know the
would
mock.
do Cav.
Yeah. The mock has been like Cav and McAdory. Because I do think the Woods still have a good defense. Maybe, I mean, maybe they take Ben Ware. Maybe they think he's that good. Um, And then
And with back-to-back picks, if you talk about, oh, should they take Cav, should they take McAdory? Well, they have back-to-back picks, so whether they could take both and do a 2-3, McAdory Cav or Cav McAdory, and it really doesn't
yeah,
make a difference because they're both going to California, and well, actually, they don't disclose salary figures, but
it
I
is a
highly
like a
doubt
thousand
that.
dollar difference, I think, getting picked. I think for the top like five, it's like the first overall draft pick gets 30K, second gets 29. It's something like that down to
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So they're so I guess for the individual player, they might care
Yeah.
about.
But to us the fans, especially with the salary
It
cap
doesn't
being
matter.
yeah. Um yeah, I'm just hoping it yeah, I mean look, we all know the team's biggest weakness and Brian said this to us himself that the biggest weakness is that lefty attack spot and it kind of it seemed like I would have thought they'd do more to address it
Hmm.
um, before the draft, and maybe they're just banking everything on Coulter McAsee or Will Manny. Um,
Are they banking everything on Colton Maxey though? Because Jim Mitchell is
yeah,
now out.
that news that also came out. Jim Mitchell stepping down as the assistant coach, so the Cannons now need both coordinators hired before the start of the season, and you would think you'd want to have those people in place before the draft at least, so that you could talk about like the needs and how to fill and what the scheme of those coordinators is.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm officially getting a little worried. Um,
I'm
A
not
lot
worried.
going on,
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think, I mean, I gotta just think that with all the moves that we've made so far, coach is just really like looking into the future and like trying to plan ahead.
But why?
yeah,
This team, uh, the 2024 Boston Cannons were a true lefty attackman away from being a title favorite.
yeah, yeah. If they
Like
had like
it's hard to have a true rebuilds and whatnot and tear it downs and all like you have in other sports where there's so many franchises. So, it's pretty easy to be a quote unquote title contender in the PLL just by sheer talent and limited number of teams. But you put a you put vintage Matt Kavanaugh back
yeah,
in there, or it, literally just any a serviceable lefty attackman, and that team has a legitimate shot at winning a championship this year. And they signed so many guys back, so it seems like, oh, they're just going to run it back, and then yeah, you just add a lefty attackman, boom, you're set. But now I'm so confused as to what the
yeah.
moves we're doing. If it's an eye on the future, why are you looking at the future? This is not a league where you need to tear it down and rebuild.
Especially with a position like
Win.
obviously they came up short in the playoffs, but they came up short really offensively. Like you tell me the Cannons gave up 8 goals, I was like, oh, awesome, they won that game. No, they only scored 4. Um,
Right.
yeah, biggest factor of that, Chris Islanian playing attack. Not to hate on Chris Islanian, that's just like not a position he's played in a long, long time. And
Yeah, he's a phenomenal midfielder.
yeah, but he's a midfielder.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, I know Jack, you had the theory that um, Coach Holman doesn't want to draft McAsee, and that led Mitchell to step down.
Yeah, down I don't know, pure speculation.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just conspiracy theory time because it doesn't make sense. Why is the offensive coordinator stepping down? They still haven't announced the draft, but we're assuming that it's when it was last year, the first week of May. It's basically a month away from the draft, halfway through the college season, and oh, offensive coordinator is resigning.
yeah.
Like they specifically, he chose like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Like if he effectively quit.
Right. Um, yeah, it's weird. And of course, like maybe it's something else that we don't know is going on. Maybe he's sick or maybe someone in his family, like there's some kind of
You know
crisis.
what?
Obviously,
Yeah, I
we're not
shouldn't.
wishing that.
Yeah,
Um, but
I
it
shouldn't.
no, no, no. No, I think you're right. It's a weird move. And it feels like that was definitely not the plan. That I feel like Jim Mitchell probably expected to be back in
Hmm.
Boston in 2025. Certainly we expected him to be back.
Yeah,
Um, and like
wish
no
he
shade.
was.
Yeah. Obviously no shade to Will Manny. Like I really, really hope we see him in a Cannons uniform in 2025. No shade to Mike Robinson. Like he got one shot last year, and coach basically said like that wasn't enough. It wasn't necessarily a fair opportunity. So hopefully he comes back and has a great year. Brian Cameron from Rutgers that they signed as well. Um, and then I don't know if it was officially announced, but I believe JJ Solstrop signed with another team. Uh,
Yeah, he did. He went to Carolina, didn't he?
I believe so. I'm on the PLL transaction page now.
Yeah, he's with Carolina.
Okay, yes, that's right. Yeah, I think the Red Legion posted it.
Oh, Chris Rosenthal had it. The
Rosenthal,
Red
yeah,
Legion reposted
yeah.
Chris Rosenthal.
So,
So,
I mean, I'd say
yeah.
he was good in Champ Series. I think
Yeah.
it's a very steep learning curve. I think to be thrown into that. But he played well, well enough. I certainly had a fantastic college career. Someone that I was looking forward to seeing potentially, at least compete for that spot. Um, won't well, I guess he'll be competing for it in. Wait, no, he's not taking Josh Burns' spot in Carolina. What? Unless, I mean, that'd be major T if Burns not coming back. I gotta think that's he's,
No, I think he got signed,
yeah,
re-signed.
he must be playing midfield. So, yeah, certainly, there's no way. I mean, no offense to Silstrop, but there's no way he's beating out Josh Byrne for that lefty tack spot. So that yeah, the plan must just be to have him play midfield.
Unless Byrne gets moved to midfield.
Nah, nah, nah.
Just no.
I mean, new GM, new head coach.
Yeah,
Who
that's
knows
true.
what
They
they're
are.
doing down there in Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're late to the action, but man, have there been a lot of changes to those two teams out west. Although the roster for the Chaos has definitely not felt like as much of a problem. So
No, the Redwoods are the ones that
yeah,
because they lost so many guys going into last year,
yeah.
and now they
I
lost
mean,
Pennell. Like it's just a totally different
yeah.
Redwoods team this year.
But I mean, I would say this is possibly the biggest story of the offseason that was announced a couple of days ago. Nick Turn is apparently coming back and has been traded to the Redwoods. Um, the one good year the Chrome had was the year he won Rookie of the Year playing X for them. And assuming he's been able to have a stick in his hands the last 3 years that he's been deployed somewhere for the Army, I don't know where. Like that is, I would say, an upgrade over Pinnell, just in terms of like age and longevity, um, and just being a younger guy who's probably more willing to fit into a system versus Pinnell kind of doing his thing. Where it felt like he felt like he wanted to play hero ball a lot of last year, where he felt like he had to be the offense for the team and kind of put the whole team on his shoulders. Um, which of course he's more than capable of doing. But anyone who watched that Redwoods offense uh, knew that it was not a fun time. That being said, they did still beat the Cannons, but we don't
Yeah.
need to talk about that.
No, no, we don't.
Yeah, I don't know. So Owen Grant, um, Brian Cameron, they also re-signed Max Wayne, who,
Another poll.
yep, he another poll. He did make it to camp last year, and then I believe was released in part of that roster cut down. Because I think you bring 30 guys to camp and then have to cut a roster down to 25. So like I'd kind of expect that to happen again. Like no offense to Max Wayne, but you feel like if everyone's healthy. and maybe Keelty's Achilles is still a bit of an issue. Um, but Keelty, Apple, Young, and
Even
then
if it is an issue, he Keelty was out all last year and Max Wayne didn't get
that's
any
true. But Cade Van
reps,
Raphorst isn't gonna play.
but
Uh,
now we have Owen Grant.
right. Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, that's true. Um, so you think it's gonna be, yeah, it'll be Keelty, Apple, Young, um,
Keelty,
or
Epple,
Grant,
Young down low, yeah.
and then probably Rawl and Grant up top,
Check.
or Chick, or John Geppert, who we haven't mentioned, but the
Oh,
Cannons
him
also
too.
signed like a month ago.
Yeah, like
They have
there's
like I think like 9 polls. We got Keelty, Apple, Young, Grant, Geppert, Rawl,
Chick,
Chick,
Wayne,
Wayne. Okay, 8.
8.
Yeah, and you
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 don't need
figure
8 polls.
no, so five of those guys will dress, and then there's probably going to be another guy who's on the roster and maybe gets a game or two if whether injury or rotation or whatever.
Right.
Which
But
I
that's
believe is
still
it's about what they brought last year. Um, but it does feel a little bit like focusing on an area that wasn't necessarily a problem. I mean, they definitely need another LSM behind Ethan Rawl. Um,
but do
but
you need 3 or 4?
yeah, no, they don't. Uh, yeah, so I'm excited to talk to Brian the next time to Coach Holman.
Yeah.
That is. Um, yeah, which I don't know if we'll probably reach out around the draft. Maybe talk to him
Maybe
maybe after. Probably after would be more fun because we could talk about who
what he did.
actually chosen. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think beforehand we should get Arestia or some other
definitely.
college experts on for the preview stuff, and then you gotta pick Brian's brain about the moves he actually did make because he can't show his hand
Right.
before the draft, and he also you don't know how the board's gonna fall, so
Yeah.
it'll be a lot more interesting to talk to him post-mortem.
Yeah. And we're for sure. I mean, some questions will be answered. I think if he takes Maxey at 4, excuse me, then we're not going to be as curious about, that move will make sense. I mean, still basically taking Grant instead of Ben Ware, um,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a question. But again, if Owen Grant plays 10 games, has a fantastic like all-star season, then yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
Um, all right. Anything else? I mean, I know there's a lot more going on in lacrosse we could possibly touch on during the course of this podcast, but we want to try to keep it cannons focused, of course.
Yeah, I think that's probably it in the Cannons world. Casey, you got anything?
Nope.
Yeah. Still hoping we get a WLL schedule for the summer. Um,
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Um,
yeah.
hopefully something soon. We know that we'll see them All-Star Weekend, but it'd be really great to get a little bit more,
Yeah.
just an update. Something would be really great. We want to know when we can support our girls.
Yeah. Don't want to wait till February 2026 to see them again.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't expect that will happen in the next week until we come back again. But who knows? Maybe there'll be another big trade, and there certainly will be more Boston College lacrosse. And I don't know. The Redwoods will probably make another couple trades that we could talk about by then.
Probably.
Yeah. So,
Trader Joe.
yep, he's earning that
That's
nickname.
right.
All right. So, thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you out at another Boston College lacrosse game soon. I think we'll be posting the games that we'll be going to in the month of April. But go to a bunch of games, even if we're not there. Like Harvard's having a great year, BU's having a great year, BC's the women are having a great year.
And if you're not in the Boston area, go support your local team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go
Go
support your high school team.
for sure. Go
Yeah.
Go
start a
watch
high
some
school team.
lacrosse. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week. And until then, go Cannons.
Go Cannons.
Go Cannons.
Boom.
Boom.